My name is Bill Karagunis, and I'm the General Manager of Microsoft Managed Desktop, and I wanted to thank you all for taking the time out today and spend the next 60-ish minutes with us to walk through this new service for Microsoft. I'm going to outline the service. I'm going to describe the end user experience it delivers, how to onboard. I'm going to explain how it helps enterprise IT and our Microsoft partners focus their efforts on differentiation and competitive advantage. So, I think this is a good place for us to actually start this discussion, sort of give us a little bit of context in terms of where we're going. So, for most organizations, they realize that there's a need to digitally transform, and that they tend to start from a place where they've deployed and rely upon their on-premise infrastructure. The traditional infrastructure tends to be loosely connected, loosely coupled, and it's not necessarily benefiting from the intelligence and capabilities of the cloud. So it can also be extremely expensive to run, and sometimes, especially if you've had to stitch together a bunch of components, it becomes really fragile to touch and to update. Our vision, Microsoft's vision, and one of our major guiding principles, and you've probably heard a lot about this over the last couple of days, is to connect existing infrastructure into the cloud and to start benefiting from that knowledge and the intelligence that's there. Connecting existing infrastructure gives you what we refer to as cloud-connected IT. Now, for many of you, you tend to think of cloud-connected IT as your servers or your services or some major app that you're deciding to push up into the cloud. We also encourage you to think about the fact that the cloud can also play a significant role in managing and running what we refer to as modern desktops. Click. Okay, good. So, one of the key foundations of this talk that I'm going to elaborate on in the next little while is that the modern desktop, is hugely advantaged if it's actually connected to the cloud and enhanced by the cloud and the analytics. Now, getting down into some sort of brass tacks on this thing, when I talk about the modern desktop, I'm essentially talking about Windows 10 connected to Azure Active Directory with these devices running Office Pro Plus 365 and leveraging the cloud to stay current and derive other services from your desktop estate, in addition to security feature updates as well as the analytics capabilities that you get by connecting it up to there. We believe that this combination provides the most productive and most secure computing experience and leads to reductions in TCO, all while reducing complexity. Now, 18 months ago, I'll start telling this part of the story, we took this vision to a lot of our customers. One of the things, with a Satya-led Microsoft, one of the things that Satya really sort of drives into us as leaders in the organization, especially the engineering organization, is, go out there, talk to your customers, listen to what they have to say. So when we spoke to many IT leaders, CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, around the vision, they got it. They bought in and sort of said, look, this makes sense and I want to get there. But let me give you some feedback, Microsoft. First piece of feedback. I'm struggling to give my end users a great experience. I'm struggling to do that as well as with great security because, some of these companies might have been in highly regulated environments. And if I'm managing to do those two things, it's costing me a bomb. My TCO is out the window. Other organizations turned around to us and sort of said, look, I love the vision, but I'm stuck. I'm stuck on my old technology. And they didn't actually say it this way, but they basically said, look, I don't know how to I don't even know how to get onto Windows 10. I've got so much work to do, and there's a lot of fragility in my platform. Some other organizations who are running on Windows 10 were also in a sort of a different stage in the sense that, we've changed to go from, 3 yearly updates to our operating system to, today, roughly twice a year. We've changed some of those things recently. But, more frequent updates. And these organizations are really geared around, major projects and, long-term things, and it's very difficult for them to sort of keep running forward with those things. The final thing that we heard from a lot of these people was it was hard to find the right people to be able, that had done this stuff before, to be able to sort of get going, and helping them with this migration. So, well, we listened and we worked with these customers. We worked with them arm in arm to develop what the service we're introducing today. And that's what Microsoft Managed Desktop is. Sound, please.
Every business to go further. Businesses are shifting to a modern...
Let's do that again, shall we? Okay, here we go.
Today's digital transformation is driving every employee and every business to go further. Businesses are shifting to a modern desktop, enabling their employees to be more productive, more secure, and help empower IT. But sometimes the burden of doing complex IT management or big deployments can really add up. What if you had another option? Introducing Microsoft Managed Desktop, the easiest way to delight users and free up IT. It combines the best experience of Windows 10 and Office 365 with the latest technology on devices refreshed every 3 years. And because it's backed by Microsoft, your support, security, and device management are taken care of, freeing up IT professionals and helping you evolve your business. Microsoft Managed Desktop simplifies IT, keeping you up to date and empowering your people to achieve more.
Cool. So, with Microsoft Managed Desktop, I really want to break this down into 3 areas. But one of the key things I want you all to take away is we've designed this offering to delight users and to free up IT. These are the key guidelines that we've essentially started off with to sort of drive us around the architecture and the roadmap we took to build this service. Let's drill into that a little bit more. So, from a best experience perspective, you heard in Brad Anderson's talk on Monday, the keynote, he spent a lot of time talking about Microsoft 365. This offering is built on top of Microsoft 365. We bring, obviously, Windows, Office 365 Pro Plus. We leverage services like Autopilot, and we're very specific about the devices that are part of this program to be able to deliver on that end user experience. There's an aspect of this program as well that is all about staying up to date and us essentially doing the heavy lifting around keeping you up to date, driving ring-based deployments of Office and Windows. And from a hardware perspective, a 2 or 3 year refresh cycle on the devices. And the final piece, which is in combination with the first 2, is the backed by Microsoft bit. There, we deploy our device configuration. We monitor these devices in our security operations center. We take care of app deployment. Now, of course, we're running your apps on this platform, but we're ensuring that those apps go out and they're healthy. We talked about update management. We leverage desktop analytics in what we do, and we bring new analytics views to you as you're looking at how we're managing your estate. And finally, we provide 24/7 end-user support for Windows and Office, and Surface devices if you happen to be running on Surface devices. Now, I want to do a quick sort of segue here to just sort of contextualize this a little bit. Now, some folks have sort of come to me and sort of said, well, it's cool, Microsoft's doing this device as a service thing too. I think this is a little bit different. Now, the market will decide whether it is or not. But from a philosophical point of view, what we've tended to see is with device as a service offerings tended to be sort of, based around the hardware. How do you sort of get access to hardware, leasing, services to sort of, make it more convenient and easy to sort of procure those things. MMD is a little bit more. I mean, like I encourage you to sort of go back to those 2 points I mentioned before. We're doing this to delight users and to free up IT. So with MMD, these 3 things aren't optional. This is not a menu. These 3 things are mandatory as part of the service. You need to have a great software stack, you need to have awesome hardware, and you need to have great management, which is bringing out those qualities in order to be able to deliver on the end user experience and to help organizations like minimize the amount of time they're spending on things that tend to be sort of more commodity things versus delivering new competitive advantage to the organization. So, the other thing I also want to spend a little bit of time on, and I'm going to a little bit further down the track, is how many Microsoft partners do we have in the room? Wow, thank you. Like MMD, think of MMD as a sort of a run state. Many organizations that we work with, customers that we go into, their environments need preparation. They might have app remediation work they need to do. They might need to deploy their directories. There's a bunch of prerequisites that I'm going to talk about in a little while, which represents opportunity and work for our partners, and an opportunity to sort of take advantage of this offering to bring things forward and get more work going quickly. So let's spend a couple of moments on the delight user piece. So what I'm going to do in this section is I'm going to talk about the devices. I'm going to talk about some of the end user experiences and contextualize MMD in terms of what's going on behind the scenes in those end user experiences. Now, one of the other pieces of feedback we get when we sort of work with customers and go into their organizations is we hear end users telling us that, I really wish my PC at work was as good as the one I have at home. At home, they're running clean images, they have more modern hardware. I've been in meetings with customers where these end users refuse to bring their device to the meeting. And I'm like, well, why aren't you bringing your device? And these people are like, well, it's 5 years old. The fan's blaring constantly. It weighs 8 pounds. And the battery's dead. And it takes about 10 minutes to boot. And I was almost about to say a bad word. I kid you not, literally, we've seen organizations where they've got these kind of environments. And it's like, look, it's just not a productive experience for me. I'd love to have something like I have at home. So that's one of the key things that we think about here. So let's talk about the devices themselves. The experience does start off with a great portfolio. For MMD right now, we support the Surface devices. We're working closely with our OEM partners to bring OEM devices over the next couple of months into the portfolio. But you should think of this as there's a curated set of devices that are part of the offering. And I'm going to go into some of the device specs in a sec. And obviously, we look for things like, performant, reliable, and, let's go into some of those features that we look for. So for MMD devices, we look for the M365 device specs. I think that's what we call them nowadays. And we're looking for a level 2 or level 3 kind of capability on the device. There's a bunch of reasons why. A lot of them are listed on the left-hand side of this slide. We leverage autopilot, basically the self-provisioning deployment capabilities. I assume people know what autopilot is? Hands? Okay, phew. Okay, good. Windows Hello is a native part of MMD. We leverage things like BitLocker, virtualization-based security, as part of our security stance and stature. One of the things that is new for the devices that we bring into the program is this notion of device health analytics. So before I was working on MMD, I was the director for our operating system fundamentals for Windows 10. And as part of my charter was the reliability of the operating system. And quite often, what happened is we would find great devices that maybe had one buggy driver. And that one buggy driver was tanking the whole experience. Like, we've seen devices that are basically bug checking every 10 minutes, right? that does not do anything for that end user's confidence on that device. It really doesn't matter how pretty it is or how fast it is. I mean, like, if you're in the middle of a document and the thing is going to pull the rug out from under you, not a great experience. So what we do is we also leverage our analytics signal of all of the devices in the world, and we look for these models, and we look to sort of see, is that device healthy? Does that meet the bar in terms of its basic driver load? And if it's not, we'll work with our OEM partners to ensure we're correcting things. Quite often, these things are relatively straightforward to correct. But it's another one of those things where we want to ensure that the experience is great. Okay. Click. Okay. So I'm going to change gears a little bit. So I haven't actually talked about the onboarding experience. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But I want to spend a little bit of time using essentially the first experience an end user has and annotate that discussion with the MMD, what's going on behind the scenes stuff. So we talked about, the fact that we were leveraging autopilot. So with MMD, you can, once you procure a device for your company, you can actually send it to an end user, like ship it to an end user. They take it out of the box. This is a nice, pretty box. It's fragile. And what happens with an autopilot experience is the device boots up, and the device is connected to the tenant that it actually originated from. So the end user at that point essentially types in their corporate credentials, and the experience goes from there. Now, MMD devices come with a standardized MMD image. So, like for example, you're already pre-provisioned with Office bits on there, and they're essentially sort of a very sort of fast, lean, mean image on there. But an autopilot, knows what the device is. We've provisioned it beforehand. So the end user types in their password, and the next thing that happens is this experience. So our friends in the autopilot team and the out-of-box experience team, listen to a lot of our customer feedback. And a lot of our customers were telling us that, look, I like the program, I like autopilot, but in my environment, I don't want end users getting to the desktop and being able to do things until all of the policies are down on the workstation and they've got their apps. Once they hit the desktop, we want them to be ready to go. So what we do now is we block that experience. And when this is here, the security baseline for MMD comes down. All of our policies come down. We turn the device into a standard user, and we'll deploy any required apps that corporate IT administrator has said that this particular user needs. Once all of that's done, the end user gets to their desktop. Now, the desktop is provisioned. Office is wired up. Like I mentioned a second ago, the mandatory apps are there. They can become productive. Now, as part of some of the work we also did, we worked with the OneDrive team to ensure that we could essentially have what we refer to as a sort of a stateless experience for these end users. The idea being that if an end user pours a cup of coffee on their device, we want to be able to ship them a new device the next day. They can put the old one in the box, they take the new one out, they boot it up, enter the credentials, and they're back up and running again. What the OneDrive team did was, in addition to just doing all of the usual OneDrive goodness, they're replicating the desktop, and they're also replicating all of the known folders down on that device. So if you saw this image, like in a video, what you'd see is the desktop, you'd see these icons popping up as the synchronization was going on. That's also another key part of the MD experience, the ability to have this sort of stateless mode on their devices. We turn on roaming settings. One of the key things is we want the user, if they've got desktop backgrounds or whatever other settings they've got, we want all that stuff to propagate down. And we have this notion of best experience. Now, one of the things that tends to be a little bit controversial, I'll call it out, is we do not allow third-party agents on MMD devices. These run native Microsoft technologies. They're secured and managed using Microsoft MDM, Windows Defender ATP, and our security baseline. And what that does is, sometimes we see corporate PCs with multiple processes, 5 or 6 agents running, like background CPU of 10, 15%, like gigs of memory dedicated to the stuff that's always there. We don't want to over-provision these devices, and we don't want their experiences to be compromised. These devices have got to be able to boot in 10 seconds. We need to be able to sustain those things. We also don't want hundreds of group policies coming down and running every time the user logs in. So with MMD, it's all MDM-based. So one of the other things that is critical is, well, Verizon, actually. We should talk about the study that Verizon published a little while ago about data breach investigations. And what they found was that 63% of data breaches involved weak or stolen passwords. So with MMD, we kind of want to go down the biometric route. And we work closely with the organization that's deploying to turn on things like Windows Hello. By the way, it turns out it's really hard to take a screenshot of the lock screen. So I cheated on Sunday, and sorry, the logon screen. So I cheated on Sunday and did the lock screen, and I just realized that I've given rights to one of my pictures to Microsoft. But anyway, that's a quick aside. So we leverage Windows Hello as part of the biometric authentication. And for those of you, I assume most people know what Hello is. It enables us to do a whole bunch of things from a security perspective, and it's also like a very delightful experience when you see users essentially opening up their laptop and the device has seen them in a couple of seconds, and they're actually back at their desktop. So in addition to delivering your desktop apps, your corporate apps, we also put down Teams on the device. Now, Teams is critical in the sense of it becomes the hub of office collaboration, and we really want like our users to be able to sort of take advantage of Teams in the context of MMD. We sort of see it's a key delighter, and it's a big enabler for a lot of organizations. Now, we also, from an experience perspective in terms of delighting users, we also want them to have a great support experience if they get into trouble or they don't know, they're sort of stuck on something. So what we do with MMD devices is we essentially reprogram the Get Help experience to wire into our call center. This is pretty unique. It's probably one of the first times in history that Microsoft has done end-user support in our call centers for corporate users, right? That's part of what we do for Windows and Office and Surface. And the experience looks a little bit like this. One of the modalities of the experience looks a little bit like this. We also work with organizations to wire our call center into their call tree if they want to go down that route. But this is an option for them too. So if an end user is in trouble, they basically have the choice of, I've got a call for an app, or I've got a question about Windows and Office. Let's say they go down the Windows and Office route. At this point, what we do here is, well, actually there's a screen in between where they enter in their question or their problem. We utilize the text as well as some context about the device and some of our AI systems to produce a list of potential fixes or information and guidance for that end user, which is something that we're continually investing in and we want to grow. But then, if that's not working out for them, the end user then has a choice of getting a callback or going through a chat session with one of our support people in our call center. Let's say they click on the chat, go through this experience, they know where they're in the line, and then they're actually having an IM session with a support person. Our support people, I mentioned this a little bit before, our support people, we use our own analytics to provide a view for them for what's going on in this user's device. So for example, the support professional sees what's running on the device, what versions of software are there, what crashes have happened on that device recently, app crashes, kernel crashes, tenant configuration, all of these kind of things to help to not sort of waste the end user's time with asking a bunch of questions. Instead, they're actually helping the user solve the problem. Our support folks, by the way, are dedicated MMD support folks. They understand the architecture, the system, and they're sort of geared up to provide that level of high-quality support. The support professional can also come in and essentially, if approved by the end user, take over and sort of run remote commands on the desktop too, or click around, stuff like that. So that's the support experience. So I've talked about some of the things where we're doing things for users, delighting users. I'm going to spend a couple of seconds focused on the backed by Microsoft bit. So, quick one, who in the audience is actually like an IT pro or IT administrator or desktop support? Hands? Okay, wow, it's roughly half and half. Good. So, what I want to do now is I want to spend a little bit of time on the onboarding experience, a bunch of discussion about the apps and what we do with apps. My hope is that many of you are saying, well, what the hell are you doing with apps, Bill? There's a bunch of announcements that I also want to make around things we've done to help alleviate getting apps onto the platform. And then I want to spend a little bit of time drilling into security and operations, how we run security and operations for the service. So from a philosophical perspective, when we decided to go build MMD, we looked at all of the critical things or the assets that we had that we could bring to the table to help our customers based on the things they were asking us to do. And it breaks down into three rough areas. Firstly, if you think about the things that we build the operating system, we write a lot of the drivers, the API platform, the platform that all the apps run on top of. We can modify that if we need to. We support all of that stuff. The productivity tools, they're all Microsoft written too. The MDM layer, the management layer on the client, as well as the directory in the cloud and the management control plane in the cloud. All of these things enable us to, if something isn't working or if there's a gap or we need to change something, we can actually sort of bring it forward. It also helps us from a perspective of being able to keep the system moving forward quickly, being able to move updates quickly. So we sort of thought, okay, that's good. And actually, to be honest with you, we've already probably made about over 100 changes into M365 based on the work we've done with MMD customers. We built an insights pipeline for Windows 10. We built it primarily for compatibility and for understanding, diagnostics and device health when we were building Windows 10. But in about 2015, we realized that, if I take this channel and I apply it to a corporation, I start to get really valuable insights about that corporation. That was actually the birth of what is today desktop analytics. But with MMD, we're utilizing that channel even more to be able to operationally manage these devices, to be able to ask questions like, what app is blocking an update on this program, on this device? Or troubleshooting something, or wow, that didn't work, or that policy didn't go down. Why didn't it go down? Stuff like that. The third thing is, over the last 10 years or so, we've evolved to the point where we can do a lot of this management over the cloud. So instead of having to have a bunch of on-prem infrastructure. So with these three things, as well as having our security monitoring teams, our security ops, and our ops teams internally in Microsoft, and what we essentially did was we took those teams and then we built dedicated teams into those. So the people that are taking care of hundreds of thousands of devices for Microsoft are now dedicated, not all of them, portions of them are dedicated to working on MMD. We're able to bring this offering to the table. So with that, and one of the things that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on around the prerequisites, assuming that a customer is ready to go from a prerequisite perspective, the onboarding process is relatively straightforward for MMD. It all happens via the cloud. MMD, we have an Azure Blade, which allows you to onboard. What essentially happens here is if you've signed up for the service and you've got the prerequisites ready to go, you come to the site, you click on there once. We basically ask for a limited admin privilege to be able to create a couple of groups and hang devices off inside your tenant. If everything's cool there, you click the button, and then you've got essentially your MMD control panel here, the Azure Blade. And you can see here, from here you can actually order devices, and those devices go through a store experience, and within the supply chain, they essentially get wired into your tenant. This is where you come to add in apps, contacts, and if you have operational support requests, this is where you come to essentially do those, and we track all of those things here as well. The other thing to be the other important thing to sort of like understand about MMD is we have a standard reference, we have a standard template, which we leverage with all of our customers. So let's talk about apps. One of the things that I should mention here, this is one of our internal sites. I can't show you a customer because I really didn't want to sort of show some customers' line of business apps here. It would take a long time to get sign off for that kind of thing, and also they probably wouldn't sign it off anyway. So what you're seeing here is a site that we use internally to test things out, and you're sort of seeing a bunch of apps. But this is the app experience that the IT pro essentially comes to push apps up into MMD. Under the covers, we're using Intune to deploy these apps. This is not a new piece of technology. This is just a place to go and sort of assign them to users. Now, we love your Win32 apps. You probably don't hear that much. We do, so from a philosophical perspective, we want to be able to help you leverage your existing business value that lives inside your apps. And it's like, look, I really don't want to belittle the fact that, years of work have gone into these things. They represent, corporate advantage, and it's like it's sort of the bread and butter of your business. So, from MMD, we sort of started with a focus of, look, let's get people onto this modern platform, let's get their apps running, and let's try and do that with as minimal effort as possible to get them going and bring business value as quickly as possible. So, what we've got here is essentially a sort of a roadmap, a conversation about apps, and as part of the onboarding process, if you've got a bunch of apps you want to send to your users, how do you think about these and how do you approach it? So, one of the key points I wanted to make at the beginning here is, with MMD, what we see our customers doing is, you can basically deploy MMD to your whole estate, or it'll happily coexist in your estate as well. I mean, remember, this is Windows, connecting to Intune and AAD, running, and your end users are logging on with their corporate credentials, so they get access to all the other resources in the environment as well. So some customers might turn around and say, I want to do this for my mobile workers. We want to give them great laptops. We want them to have a mobile experience that's secure, but is going to work for them. And they're remote, so it's really expensive to get IT people out to them and debug that kind of thing. So the first thing you do is you either leverage desktop analytics or something like desktop analytics to understand what apps these users are using. What is the set of apps that need to run on this platform? The decision then is, do you keep them, do you retire them, or do you modernize? For many of you that have done Windows 10 migrations, a lot of this is really straightforward. I mean, MMD is based on Windows 10 Enterprise. I mean, this is not a special version or a special flavor of Windows. Many apps just work. We spent a lot of time from a compat perspective to make that, to have that position. But some might have problems, or there might be problems moving from one feature update to another feature update. In a few moments, I'm going to talk about a new thing called Desktop App Assure and how that helps as part of that. The other thing is apps need to be packaged for Intune. So we've also added new capabilities into Intune to be able to address even a broader range of apps or app packaging formats as well. Once that is done, you essentially go to that portal, you assign them, and then we take care of deploying them, and then we validate through a controlled rollout. So, has everyone heard of Desktop Aperture? It's relatively new. We announced it. Oh, great. Okay, cool. So, you should all be aware of this. I mean, so this is relevant for MMD customers, but it's relevant for everyone. And basically, the idea behind this is, with Windows 10, we intentionally went out to make it the most compatible operating system ever. I mean, that was the charter when we started with Windows 10. That's why we built a lot of these analytics pipelines and things like that. Even today, we use millions of data points and customer diagnostic data to understand the compat level of apps running on the platform, the 20+ million apps that we see through that analytics pipe. The Windows Insider program, in many ways, I was there at the beginning and responsible for the thing. In many ways, the Windows Insider program was all about ensuring that we get a great visibility of third-party apps and as many line-of-business apps as we could see to make sure we're making good decisions and maintaining compatibility on our platforms. So, with all of that, if you've got an app and it's running on MMD and there's some issue with it, what the Desktop Aperture program does is we engage a Microsoft engineer to debug through and figure out what's going on with that app and why it's not working. Maybe we need to build a shim, or maybe something else needs to change. We basically want to take a lot of the objections out for moving things forward. Super important. And this is inclusive in MMD. I encourage you all to sort of look into it and understand the program a little bit more. The next thing, I mentioned this briefly. I'll elaborate a little bit more about Intune. So with Intune, the Intune team has added more functionality in from a packaging perspective and a deployment perspective too. So Intune will deploy executables. It'll deploy multi-file MSIs with transforms. It'll take advantage of delivery optimization. Delivery optimization, for those who don't know what it is a peer-to-peer deployment technology. So if that app has come down into your local subnet, you don't have to go off to the internet to get it again. You can get it from a peer. It also will install apps now when the user's not actually logged in. Final thing, which you've heard a lot about, I hope, this week, is we also love virtualized. Many of our customers want to bring a Citrix client onto an MMD device because they've got a bunch of apps in the Citrix estate. That's cool. With MMD, you also get access rights to the Windows Virtual Desktop. And we're working very closely with the Windows Virtual Desktop team to come with more value with the two things in combination. But you have all of those things as well. Okay. The S word. Security. Hold on, I need to wet my whistle. Okay. This is usually the second conversation we have with a company. Are there security professionals in the room? Oh, awesome, great. So, you've heard Satya talk about the fact that we run on trust. And to maintain your trust, we focus on delivering a highly secure platform and service in the cloud. And you probably heard stats that we have approximately 3,500 security professionals, and we process somewhere in the order of 6.5 trillion security events through all of the devices we have in the world every day. We take this ultra seriously. And for us, we spend a lot of time ensuring that we have a strong security stance without impacting the end user's experience. So if you think about the areas here, from a security perspective, it's kind of like a three-legged stool. You've got device health, you've got identity protection, and then you've got all the monitoring stuff that we do. Let's go into device health. I mentioned before that we manage feature and quality updates onto these devices. Right? We do that for Windows and Office. We use a ring-based deployment to do those things. And that's critical because you need to have the right patches on these devices at all times. That becomes the responsibility for the MMD operation. The other thing to note is that the policies, because they're hosted in the cloud, sometimes we see challenges where security policies or policy updates require a device to VPN in back home in order for that stuff to come down. With MMD, because it's all up in the cloud, it essentially gets out there a lot quicker. From a device config, we run a standardized set of policies, and because we've got a known set of hardware configurations, validation for us is an upstream piece of work. We validate things beforehand, and it's not so much of a, oh, deployed something and now we've seen a problem. We know the devices, we know the updates, we know what's going out there. We work very hard to ensure that this stuff continues. The other thing about our devices is, we've actually had multiple pen tests done by customers and our own internal IT operation. And we've passed very, very well in terms of the security stance we're sort of taking. From an apps perspective, we leverage something called Windows Defender Application Control. It used to be called Device Guard. And what this technology does is a kernel-level technology which knows, which basically we control what apps can actually run on the device. And if some foreign binary makes its way on there and is somehow in a position where somebody's trying to run it, the kernel essentially won't let it run. So it's another level of security on all the apps. And that's all configured because the apps are coming through a well-known channel down via Intune. And the final thing is we leverage cloud-based management. So because we have a lot of our technologies up in the cloud, if we, as we change things, as we add to our security stance in the cloud, we can update those things and basically bring them to the table. One of the big things to think about with MMD is it's not static. We're always investing, we're always evolving, just like we're always investing and evolving in M365 and Windows. Identity protection, we leverage multi-factor authentication. We talked about Windows Hello a little bit before. Self-service password reset comes with MMD. And we sort of see that the future is, we're driving towards this passwordless world. So, we're broadening, we're doing more things. You probably heard a little bit about our announcement the other day where, you can basically configure your AAD-based apps to leverage MFA to be able to authenticate and run those apps as well. We're constantly evolving the platform in that sense. We also leverage things like credential card and the other cloud-based security products. From a monitoring and remediation perspective, we have our Microsoft Security Operations team. Now, all of these folks are Microsoft FTEs. They're the people that sort of guard our estate. They're cloud screened. They work with monitored and controlled tool sets, and we ensure that there's an audit trail for our customers to be able to sort of understand what's going on, the changes we've done, etc. Now, if security issues are detected, we'll quarantine devices relatively quickly, and we work with the security contacts and the security operations contacts in the customer to ensure that we're either investigating or whatever the plan or the response is on those things. We rely on data and analytics to fix issues before they happen as well. So we've talked about a lot of all of that security information that's flowing in from all over the world. We leverage all of those things in our SOC for MMD customers. So let's take a moment and chat a little bit about the ops space. So here's another view of the MMD portal. We do 24/7 operations to keep users productive. Our ops team works very closely with our support team and security monitoring teams to identify issues, if we need to go and remediate things, or to communicate with end users or IT folks in their organizations. In fact, you can sort of see, there's a bunch of tickets here, and if we detect something, we'll work through. Things are provided with severities, et cetera, et cetera. One of the key things I suppose that is really important to us and super valuable is that we've designed this service to be evergreen and always up to date. So, like a lot of solutions tend to be sort of locked in. What we want to do with MMD is we want to make sure that we're always bringing the platform forward. We're always bringing customers forward. So architecturally, this is why we've made the decision around modern devices. If you've got a modern device and it's 2 to 3 years old, the driver set on that device is up to date. You can roll it forward. We always know that we can always get a fix for a driver on a device like that. We talked about being lightweight. The lightweight thing is super important to us because it also means that we don't have a bunch of dependencies in order to bring devices forward. We talked about a native security stack. That native security stack is Defender ATP in our instance. And again, we're always rolling it forward. Stateless implementation, it allows our end users to swap out their devices or even repurpose devices to other end users so that if we need to replace something or we need a user to get going quickly, we can do those sort of things. And we can do them using our device partners. And our device partners can essentially allow that to happen in the local geographies for those customers. And we leverage ring-based deployment. We've got our 4 rings split out. We do test ring, we do first, fast, and broad rings, and we sort of divide up the population, and that's how we actually do a lot of our deployment operations. But the key concept here is that MMD is about keeping you up to date. Once you're on MMD, once your apps are running on MMD, it becomes our job to keep your platform moving forward into the future. I want to go into some of the things that are a little bit different in an MMD world. So with MMD devices, you don't necessarily need to worry about the device hardware itself, what's happening with that hardware. A lot of the endpoint management functions, you can focus on things that are sort of more about your business value to your company versus the things that are more sort of commodity sort of focused. We also take care of a lot of the common support items. So, have a think about how many support items are about, Windows, Office, password resets. That kind of stuff is taken care of. And what that does is it allows your organization to focus on data and analytics. You now have this platform that supports Power BI, and you've got all these tools and capabilities to be able to bring new business value. We've heard of organizations looking at some of our analytics and sort of making decisions around, wow, okay, we've got this user running on a Surface laptop, and they're using the device for 3 hours a month. Well, maybe we shouldn't be having that user running on that laptop. Maybe that user can have a different experience. We can sort of repurpose that device to a different user, and that other user can go and make better use of it. Or other things to sort of help out the business. We're also, I suppose the other thing is to imagine that you're no longer reacting to day-to-day fires around updates and things like that. Instead, organizations can, stay up to date with new technologies and figure out how new technologies make sense in their environment, as well as supporting the business. We hear a lot about organizations that have got they've got this big backlog of work where, maybe it's a financial institution and they want to automate their branches and, bring technology into the business stuff. Basically, there's a bunch of things that, with MMD, allows you to sort of get into those things and sort of refocus on those items. But that's me talking. I'm going to play a little video, which is one of our customers, and we'll hear the experience from them.
Seattle Reign FC is one of 9 teams in the National Women's Soccer League and is the most competitive women's league in the world. We're always looking for that edge that gives us just that last 1 or 2% that helps win a championship. Like most business owners, my time is spent primarily in solving the problems that come up. The one problem I don't have to think about anymore is technology. Microsoft has solved that for me. Microsoft Service has really served as a foundation upon which we've built our technical infrastructure that supports the team and the front office. We utilize SPP to streamline the player performance data collection and aggregation, and then using Power BI to do the analysis has made it a super effective tool for us to get the right information to the right people at the right time. Finding cost-effective technology was super important for us. Right now, we're able to run without any on-site IT support. Microsoft is providing that support for our IT needs. I can spend my time thinking about the stuff that really matters to me, which is the players, the coaching staff, and the fans in the stadium.
Cool. So, we talked about bringing the best experience. We talked about using the latest technology. And we've drilled into a number of things that are backed by Microsoft and, the partner opportunity. I've mentioned prerequisites quite a lot during this conversation. The thing I'd ask you to take away from the prerequisites list here is, these are kind of no-regret prerequisites. So to get onto MMD, you want to have your apps running on Windows 10. Many organizations are obviously in that process. Many organizations have already been through that process. Based on Azure Active Directory. So MMD, one of the critical prerequisites of MMD is having identity in the cloud. And the final one is having your mailboxes in the cloud, running Office 365 and Exchange Online. They're the critical dependencies to onboard into MMD. From a availability perspective, right now, MMD we went live in July. We're live in the US and the UK. Over the next few months, we're bringing Canada, Australia, and New Zealand on board. And then starting in the middle of next year, we're looking to go to more and more geographies around the world. We haven't finalized or published that list of countries. But the other thing is, if you're interested in MMD, reach out to your Microsoft contact, your Microsoft account manager, or your Microsoft partner manager to get more information and understand the offering, what's in it for you, the way we structure things, the way operation works, the division of responsibilities, all of that stuff. And with that, thank you. So if you've got any questions, feel free. Well, I've got some people from my team here. Feel free to come down to this corner over here, and we'll do the questions there. Thanks very much, everyone.